In Singapore, the housing crisis does not always look like chaos. It looks like a queue, a ballot, a timeline, a life put on hold while you wait for a key. Because in a country famous for planning, one of the most painful words has become normal. Wait. Not wait for a holiday, not wait for a promotion. Wait to begin your real life, because the home is not ready, not available, not yours yet. That is Singapore's signature pain. Not only cost, time. The kind of time that changes everything. A couple sits at a table late at night, staring at forms, grants, loan limits, and numbers they have already memorized. They are not asking for luxury. They are asking for a normal beginning, a door, a room, a place to stop feeling temporary. But the system does not ask what you feel. It asks whether you qualify. And once housing becomes something you have to qualify for, your whole life starts to feel conditional. People talk about HDB, about BTO, about resale, about ballot chances, about waiting, about whether they should keep renting while their future sits somewhere on a construction timeline. The language itself reveals the truth. You are not simply choosing a home, you are trying to secure permission to settle. And while you wait, life does not pause. You still need privacy, you still need rest, you still need space to become an adult. So people get squeezed into the gap between the public promise and the private reality. And that gap is where the fear begins. A small room becomes the whole world. A bed touches the desk touches the wall. A wall desk is not minimalism. It is the last surface left where your life can function. A loft bed is not clever. It is what happens when adulthood is compressed into a box. Storage walls are not style. They are evidence. Evidence that the space cannot hold a normal life, so your life must fold. These are not solutions. They are coping. Because the alternative is worse. The alternative is renting longer in a market that can feel like punishment for being late. And that is what makes people tired. Not tired in a casual way. Tired in a way that changes your personality. Tired of hearing that patience is part of the process. Tired of watching time disappear while the system tells them to wait a little longer. Tired of feeling like housing is not a foundation, but a countdown. Public housing is the backbone of Singapore, and that is exactly why people expect the system to provide stability. But waiting is still built into the process. New BTO flats can still take years to complete, even though the government has been pushing more shorter waiting time flats into the system. And when the wait feels too long, people rush to the resale market. That is where another kind of fear begins. Because when more people run to resale at the same time, prices rise. And once resale rises too far, the faster option starts to feel like another locked door. So now people are trapped between two walls. Wait years for a subsidized path. Or pay more for speed. That is not freedom. That is pressure. And pressure changes behavior. People delay marriage, delay children, delay leaving their parents' home, delay the future itself. Not because they do not want a life, because housing has turned life into a timetable they cannot control. Now comes the uncomfortable part. Singapore is one of the most organized places in the world. Rules are clear. Systems are visible. Policies move. And yet, ordinary people can still feel powerless in front of one basic need. That is what makes the frustration so sharp. Because if a system this disciplined still leaves people feeling suspended, then what does order even mean? So why does it feel like this? Not slogans, not blame, just pressure. Land is limited. Demand is concentrated. Jobs, transport, schools, and opportunity all pull people into the same national space. And when space is limited, every delay feels personal. Every weight becomes heavier. Every extra year sounds like a theft. When people cannot wait, they look at the private rental market. But renting is not a soft landing. It feels temporary. It feels expensive. It feels like a bridge you are forced to live on while the life you actually want is still under construction. That is why the crisis in Singapore is not just about housing. It is about timing. It is about the feeling that your adulthood is being scheduled for you. Now, people ask the question they always ask when life starts to feel paused. What is the government doing? On paper, a lot. There are cooling measures, there are loan rules, there are stamp duties and debt servicing limits designed to stop the market from overheating and to keep households from stretching too far. There are also new BTO launches, shorter wait options, grants, public rental support, and constant adjustments to supply planning. So, yes, policies exist. Cooling measures exist, supply plans exist, but people do not live on paper. They live in outcomes. And the outcomes many residents feel are still the same. The wait is still long. The resale market still hurts. The private rental bridge still feels temporary. And stability still feels delayed. That is why people are done. Done being told the system is working while their real life stays on hold. Done pretending a multi-year wait for a basic home is emotionally normal. Done acting like not yet is a small inconvenience instead of a force that reshapes relationships, money, and time. Now add one more pressure point, carefully and without blame. Singapore has a large non-citizen population, including migrant workers, foreign professionals, and students. Many lower-wage migrant workers live in dormitories rather than the same public housing path as citizens. But when the overall rental market tightens, extra demand from any group can still add pressure at the lower cost end and in shared rentals. That does not explain the whole crisis. The bigger story is still limited land, concentrated demand, long waits, and spillover into resale and rental markets. But when people already feel squeezed, every extra pressure point becomes visible. And when pressure becomes visible, patience dies. So here's the question that should make people uncomfortable. If housing in Singapore means waiting years just to begin a normal life, who gets to live fully while they wait? And what happens to everyone who keeps being told, not yet? Subscribe to follow this series, country by country. This is not one place. It is a pattern. If this felt real, hit like. And tell me in the comments, what was the first thing housing took from you? Money, time, dignity, or the feeling that you are safe? Subscribe because the next country is worse in a different way.